Welcome to Maeder and Friends. Today we are going to have a venting session about the whole Pokemon situation. Let's get into it.
And before we get started, just a quick disclaimer because I want to get this out of the way. Neither of us have played this game, nor do we ever intend to try this game in any regard or capacity. That being said, I have taken the time to sit down, watch a couple of different streamers and videos on the game, in order to get different perspectives and thoughts to manufacture my own opinion on the game overall. So, overall, you could say around 8 hours of content I've consumed, right? That's both early game, post game, mid game, the gameplay loop, essentially what it looks like, and every possible negative and positive criticism and praise you can provide this game with. Though this is not really what I want to be discussing. If you want to know my thoughts, here is my review on Pokemon's Legend ZA after 8 hours of content consumption. It is a scam, straight up. It is just a scam. The biggest scam I've seen come out of Nintendo, definitely. No, it's probably worse. But it is the worst modern gen Pokemon game they've ever released. Yes, it's even worse than the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Because the Diamond and Pearl remakes was essentially just Diamond and Pearl, but done again with chibi-like graphics. That's the only difference. And Diamond and Pearl in of itself was pretty okay games. Platinum was better. I don't know why they didn't just do a Platinum remake, but going off topic. Overall, I would give this game a 3 out of 10. I do not recommend paying the astonishing $110 price tag on this game. DLC and battle passes included. There are other ways you can more effectively and worthwhile spend your money and time than this absolute scam of a game. But again, this isn't what I wanted to talk about. There are plenty of people that's made reviews on this game already. I don't really feel like getting into that. I don't feel like being angry this morning. It's way too soon for me to be angry, especially because we're recording this as of October 20th on a Monday morning. So that's not how I want to start my day. But um, what I do want to talk about is something a bit deeper and something that kind of hurts me a little bit more than makes me upset. And that is not the actual lack of care from Game Freak themselves, but it's the divided community, which I just overall feel sorry for a lot of people. This has been a growing pain for a while now. I want to say, especially ever since Sword and Shield came out, I feel like it's been at its most divisive since then. But the community is essentially divided into like four camps, I like to name them, right? So we got like the dick riders, right? Obviously, the neutral nostalgia babies. We've got the consumer first Andes, and then the toxic anti warriors. And so, basic levels of stuff, the dick riders is going to be the people that will praise this game, hype this game no matter what. Every new Pokemon game is the best Pokemon game that's ever released. Then you have the neutral nostalgia babies who have their nostalgia weaponized by Nintendo in order to make them forego their morals and just completely consume a product that's not worth it for the sake of just, oh, I'm having fun with it. Oh, they just want to play with the monsters and, look at the little cute little babies and play the game that they grew up with. Then you have the consumer first Andes, which I typically find myself in. I love Pokemon. I've loved Pokemon for a very long time. Most of my life, actually. But I've gotten to the point now where, as an adult, I sit down and I actually try to think about whether or not this is an effective use of my time or money. I understand that a lot of people play this game as like a cozy game, but I am a consumer first Andy. I will always prioritize the players, even though you guys don't seem to do it yourselves. Anybody that enjoyed this game, I will prioritize the players and make sure that my morals and my standing is always that rooted in wanting the best possible experience for the players, for their time spent that you can't get back, and for the money that you spent. And then, of course, you have the toxic anti-warriors. We all hate them. They're just angry and toxic for the sake of being angry and toxic. They're people that's very miserable with their lives, and then they think it's okay to make threats of violence and threaten to kill people who enjoy something that they don't like. Don't be a toxic anti-warrior. It's not cool. It's very cringe. You are not liked. Do not like these people. I don't think it's ever okay to make death threats and threats of violence just because you don't like someone's opinion. I think it's important to discuss and educate ourselves on these things, but never make death threats.
And it's so easy to get death threats nowadays. What? Can we not do opinions anymore? It's crazy, man.
So why have this conversation? Well, during the course of last week, I watched a YouTube video. I'm not going to say who the creator was. That's not important. I am a fan of theirs. I just didn't agree with the specific video. And the video was meant to express confusion as to why there seems to be this massive pool of Pokemon fans or just people in general that can't seem to let those that want to play Pokemon Legends ZA just have fun with the game. Overall, the video was explaining confusion about the whole situation, and they were asking that just let people enjoy the game. Just you're allowed to have fun with the game. Don't hate the players that are enjoying the game. Hate the development team if you really have issues with the game. And I had a lot to disagree with this sentiment because there's only two things that game developers, or rather the corporations they work for, care about: how they can make money and how they can save money. Those are the two things they care about. In some kind of fantasy la la land, yeah, we can think that gaming developers and companies and corporations want to make games to be enjoyed by gamers, but that's not the truth, especially nowadays. That's really just not the truth, right? I'm not going to lie to you guys like that. That is not the reason why these companies make games. It is to make money and also save money. So let's go back to this idea of don't hate the player and hate the developers or hate the company, right? Why do the company make these decisions? Why does the company do these things? Well, it's because of the player. If you really sit there and you think to yourself that the player who just wants to enjoy this game is not at fault for the game's declining quality, then you're just ignorant. You're ignorant and you don't really know how business for game development works. The truth of the matter is, game developers will only do what they can get away with. And yes, maybe you think this is a pessimistic way to look at it. I think it's just realistic. A game company will always try to see if they can take a finger, if they can take a hand, if they can take an arm. They want to see what they can get away with. We see this all over, not just Game Freak and Nintendo. We see this all over. Xbox is currently doing it. So my question is, would these companies do these things if they did not have the potential to earn them lots of money? No, they wouldn't. They would not do these things if it ran risk of not earning a lot of money. Here's the reality. Remember the 4 camps I mentioned? If people from the dick riding camp and people from the nostalgia babies camp decide to stop buying the game, Game Freak's response would have to be, we have to figure out how to improve the game in order to bring the customers back. And Pokemon's been one of these franchises that just, they've never had really any sort of competition. There's been lots of monster catching games, but never on the level of Nintendo. And then we saw what they did with the one that showed potential, Pal World. They decided to sue them. So that's kind of like the space that Nintendo's creating, where you can only get Nintendo's products from Nintendo themselves. But if people were to stop buying the game, if people were to speak with their wallets, because even if the neutral nostalgia babies were to say, hey, I'm just playing this game because I have fun with it, but there's a couple of things I don't like about it, there's a couple of complaints I have, Game Freak has never listened to player feedback. Ever. Let's just be real. If there's ever been a time that they've listened to feedback, that's probably just to make more money. I have never seen Nintendo actually take any sort of fan feedback seriously. So the only way to speak to this company is through your wallets, is through their revenue. When they see a revenue drop, that's when they'll actually respond. So to say that players don't actually have any sort of impact into developers' choices, that's just ignorant to say. We see it In the Pokemon TCG, for example, why do scalpers get away with selling products at 4 times the market price? People say that Pokemon themselves should produce more products. And yes, Pokemon could do that, but it won't actually fix the scalping issue. The scalpers sell the products because you, the player base, or the consumers, can't help but buy them. That is why they do it. If you did not buy the products from the scalpers, they would not sell it. They would not do it. But you use the excuse of, I just want to have fun. I just want to rip packs. I just want to get into the hobby. I just want to get into the new set. You use that as excuses and you feed the problem. So the point that I'm trying to make here is the Pokemon community themselves is the reason why Pokemon Legends ZA is so bad.
And this can go across any company, any type of game, not just Nintendo and Pokemon. Money does talk. If you constantly turn in a good profit, even though you're producing shit, why change it?
Exactly, dude. That is exactly what's going on. Pokemon Legends ZA is bad because Game Freak and Nintendo know that no matter what they do, the camps of nostalgia babies and dick riders are going to buy the game no matter what. They're going to buy the game no matter what they put out because they can't get Pokemon content anywhere else but Game Freak, but from Nintendo. Pokemon has become this thing where it's treated as this massive cash cow that is just made to make money so they can fund all of their other projects. Pokemon as an IP has a net value of $110 billion. You cannot convince me why they cannot put actual funding, actual budget, and effort into releasing a competent game. Because the community at this point has been gaslit and manipulated and brainwashed into thinking that mediocrity is worth $70. Heck, 110 if you include everything else. That doesn't make sense to me. And I will die on this hill when I say that it is the community's fault. Because as a community, consumers have let Nintendo do this. They've let Nintendo establish these rules that makes you think that this game is somehow worth its price, or makes you think that you'll just buy it because you just want to have fun. You just want to have fun with the game. Bear in mind, Game Freak also announced that they are working on a game called Beast of Reincarnation. And I mean, maybe I'll send you screenshots of this game. It looks infinitely better than anything that they've put out for Pokemon. So my question is, why is the same care? Why is the same effort? Why is this budget not being put into what makes them so much money? What is this complacency? What is this corporate greed and laziness to just put as little resources into Pokemon while still somehow guaranteeing the most profit? This community is in shambles. So that is where we currently find ourselves, and why I really wanted to bring this up, because it's not as black and white as people that just hate Nintendo and people that just love Nintendo. It's a lot more complicated than that. But at the end of the day, where we find ourselves now is Game Freak and Nintendo is going to just release whatever game they want and the community will buy it, and that is because people have been conditioned to think that way. Because people just excuse it as it being a kid's game, or they just want to have fun with it, or they like it because it's cutesy, that's suddenly an excuse to fund mediocrity. Pokemon, at least with how they're handling things right now, don't deserve to make that much money. And it hurts, you know? I don't think Pokemon has been the same ever since the end of the Pixel era. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I've just not liked when the moment Pokemon from like X and Y era, the way they've just gone to completely 3D, trying to make 3D games, I haven't been a fan of it. I prefer the pixel style. I feel like the pixel style just had more personality to it, ironically, you know? There is another game, Illustrals, that's currently it's got a GoFundMe going. that's being developed by some really passionate people. Both started from Pokemon, but that game looks really good, and I am actually excited to see what comes from that. But as far as Pokemon goes, like I know Generation 10 is going to be announced soon, but I just feel like giving up, man. Like I pray and I hope that Nintendo stops treating its community like dog shit, but as a consumer first Andy, I cannot support this anymore. And I just kind of give up. Cuz the fact that there are actually people that don't recognize they're the problem, that it's both Nintendo and the consumer's fault that Pokemon's in this state right now. And it's not even like just because of what Pokemon could have been. It's just on the fact of treating your consumers with respect, treating their money with respect, treating their time with respect. I genuinely just think that the majority of this fan base just has horrible mental illness, that they're addicted to Pokemon, that they just can't get on without having their cozy Pokemon game, no matter how bad it is. I mean, just go take a look at Digimon Time Stranger. That game just is significantly better than Pokemon in every regard. I find it so hilarious that it doesn't even matter. It can come from within Nintendo themselves. Everybody is just capable of making a game better than what Pokemon makes. I mean, Bandai released a new Digimon game that's significantly better than any Pokemon game that's come out in the past 10 years with Digimon Time Stranger. They also released this new MOBA game, Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra, that's significantly better than Pokemon Unite. Monster Hunter released a kind of um, Monster Hunter Go that competed with Pokemon Go, was better than Pokemon Go. It was more engaging, had better features. Like Nintendo and Pokemon are these leaders in the industry, and they just get, I mean, not even to talk about Pal World, but they just get beaten by everybody else in the space. But the one thing that no other game can beat Pokemon in is the dedication and devotion from its fan base. And I think that very devotion, that very dedication is what's killing the franchise. 100%. I don't know. I just feel like giving up on Nintendo at this point. We'll see what Gen 10 looks like. It's hard to think that we've actually reached Generation 10. But we'll see what that looks like. I hope that they make some changes, but if things keep going the way they're going, I don't think they will.